All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Just My Thoughts. Today, I want to talk about fear. So, I'm going to talk about some of the common types of fear. I'll share what I'm afraid of. And is fear a bad thing or a good thing? So, first, let's go through the different types of the common fears that people have. And so the first one that I see here is social phobia, or commonly known as social anxiety. That's the fear of being around a lot of people, meeting new people. And I'm actually starting to sweat just talking about it because I don't have full blown social anxiety, but I am, for the most part, an introvert. I enjoy spending time by myself, and I've gotten better. Where just the thought, the thought of having to meet someone new, uh, made my palms sweat. That's another reason why I didn't like meeting people because then they'd have to touch my cold, clammy hands, and they might think that I'm gross because I have cold, clammy hands. So just the thought of that connection, that interaction, um, was scary. I've gotten better, a lot better, and just striking up conversations. What do I talk about? Are they going to think that I'm interesting? Are they going to think that I'm boring, ugly, whatever it is? And so all these different scenarios would play in my head. So that's social anxiety. And there are some extreme cases where people don't want any kind of contact with other people. So that's like the number one phobia that they have on the list. And surprisingly, they say 1 in 5 people in America suffer from social anxiety. That's 20% of the population. And our population is 330 million. Off the top of my head, I can't think of that would be 60 some odd 66 million people. That's a lot of people that suffer from the fear of social anxiety. The next one, fear of heights. I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'4", and I've traveled and lived all around the world. So I've been on quite a few planes. But every single time the plane is starting to take off, I get a little anxious. You know, the I don't know, the liftoff is the scariest part. And then if there's turbulence, you can just forget it. Miniature heart attack. Oh my goodness gracious. But I love looking out over the horizon as we're in the air and looking at the land and the clouds and stuff like that. But just that takeoff is terrible and the turbulence is terrible. But I will never go bungee jumping and I will never go skydiving because I don't know if it's the height that scares me or the fear of the falling that, just drives me crazy. So, slight fear of heights, but not crazy crazy. I can walk on a bridge. I'll be nervous. I'll be sweating, but I can walk on a bridge. But I'll never go skydiving or bungee jumping. All right, next fear, which is a common one: fear of bugs, snakes, and spiders. So I just looked up I have a fear of snakes. They terrify me, but I find them extremely fascinating. And so that fear is ophidiophobia, I think it is. What was it called? Ophidiophobia. So I have ophidiophobia. I have a fear of snakes. But watching them on the Discovery Channel, Nature channels, I find them to be extremely, incredibly intriguing people. It's like uh, there's a crash or something terrible happening in front of you, but you just can't take your eyes off it. You just have to watch. That's how I feel about snakes. I love watching them, but even dead ones. I still think back, and me and my dad would talk about this and laugh. There was one time we were living in Tampa, Florida, and I had an award ceremony at my school, and so we walked, and we were just walking and talking, and then there was a dead snake on the ground, and my dad just kind of just stepped over it. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, you just stepped over a snake," and he didn't even see it. But just seeing that the dead snake, because I knew it was dead because the head was gone and there was like blood and all that stuff splattered everywhere, it just stopped me right in my tracks, and I had to distance myself from the where the snake was. So, like I say, a lot of people are afraid of spiders and that are okay with snakes. I've actually held a snake when I was a kid. I went on some nature adventure thing, and I actually held a python. It wasn't just me; it was me and like 10 or so of my classmates. But would I do that again? Probably not. So, yeah, that's that fear. Fear of closed spaces, which is claustrophobia. Everyone's heard of that one. I don't necessarily think that I have claustrophobia. I don't think I would want to be crammed in any closed space for an extended period of time, but I can get on elevators. I'm not afraid of elevators. I'm not afraid of closets or anything like that. I've climbed under the bed and climbed into boxes playing hide and go seek and all that stuff. So, but I know a lot of people have claustrophobia, which is a common fear. I think it says like 5% of people have claustrophobia. Fear of flying. I guess that's kind of the height kind of thing. I don't have a fear of flying. Like once I'm in the air, once the plane has leveled out and reached 33,000 feet, I'm pretty much okay. Like I say, I can stare out the window. It's like, oh, it's nice out there. It's just the takeoff and the turbulence. If it's a smooth flight, we golden. We can do that, But I can understand why people have that fear of flying. And really is this plane is this plane going to stay in the air? I think would be more of the fear, or is it going to go down? So I try not to think too much about that. Let me just zone out. Thankfully, they have, movies on planes and stuff and things that you can do on the plane to distract yourself from the flight. So, yeah. Fear of the dark. This one, of course, is a common one with children. When I was younger, what I would do, well, actually, me, my sisters, and my cousins, in another video, I talked about being at my grandmother's house. And so my grandmother had like a church attached to her house. So you walk in the front door of the house and turn right, and there's another door that leads to the church. She was a pastor and everything like that. And so sometimes me and all my cousins, and this is in the country, so they don't have street lights in the country, and so it's pitch black. So what we would do, we would all sleep in the church since it was a big room, and so we would tell all these different stories. I'm like, man, just imagine if you close your eyes and you're looking in the corner and you close your eyes and then you see like these eyes just appear in the corner and then you blink. And then when you open your eyes, the eyes are right there in front of your face. So we would tell all these crazy, wild stories. And then there was also a graveyard down the street. And so we would go walking in the dark to see who would be the bravest to get closest to the graveyard. And then at some point, you never knew when it was going to happen, but at some point, everyone would just turn around and start running back towards the house, leaving the straggler stranded in the dark by the graveyard. So what I would do when I was afraid is I would take my blanket and I would sleep with it over my head. And so that was my protective barrier. So nothing was able to get to me as long as I had the blanket over my head. So I don't have a fear of the dark anymore. Now I prefer sitting in the dark. So I'll have the lights off pretty much the whole day, even in the office. And the nighttime comes, it doesn't matter. I'll keep the lights off. It's bad for my eyes, but I have no problems with the darkness now. I know I just went on a long tangent telling that story about my childhood, but I had fun as a child. Country life is a beautiful life, baby. All right. Fear of getting a disease. That's pretty appropriate now during this coronavirus time. Fear of, so cleanliness. So I think people that are like OCD, germaphobes, this one's for you. You're constantly spraying down. I don't like germs, so I keep got sanitizer, So, if I'm around people that I'm not too sure, do they wash their hands? Do they do XYZ? So I keep sanitizer in my pocket. I got one right here. So I got sanitizer and all that stuff. So I'm not a germaphobe, but I don't like people's germs. That's just gross and nasty. So yeah, that's that fear. Fear of blood. I think one of my sisters actually has the fear of blood. Just I don't like. I couldn't be a doctor. Again, like the snakes, I'm fascinated by the operations, but it's more gross to me than it is scary. So some people are afraid of blood, either whether it's their own blood, just seeing blood, they start to, hyperventilate. Whether it's their own blood or even somebody else's, there's that fear. So fear of violent weather. So when the storm comes and the lightning and the thunder, some people are deathly afraid of extreme weather. A lot of heavy rain, and I guess this is understandable, especially if you live in an area that has like hurricanes or tornadoes or a lot of rainfall. So that's an understandable fear, being in that kind of environment where you don't have any control over the weather and how bad it's going to be. And I mean, I like watching lightning and just seeing how and counting how many seconds it's going to take before between the lightning striking and the sound of the thunder. So I find it interesting, not afraid of it, but there are people that are. Fear of dying. A lot of people want to be around. Well, most of us want to be around for as long as possible. So that fear of dying. But I think the fear of dying would prevent you from actually living. Oh, I'm going to die. I can't do anything. That would keep you trapped from enjoying life because you're always worried about something happening. What's the movie? Final Destination. I think that's the movie. Yeah, Final Destination. Everybody has their number. So you have no control for when your number is called. And so people try to cheat death or fight off death for as long as possible and just trap themselves. I'm not sure which one it was, but one of them, I think one of the people trapped themselves in a house and they didn't want contact with anyone because they were trying to fight off death. So like I say, the fear of dying actually kills you because it keeps you from living life. So those are the main fears that they have, that people around the world are afraid of. There are several others. One of my fears that I have that's not on this list is a fear of failure. So I don't like the idea of not succeeding in something that I take on. And I think that kind of pushes me to keep going, to press through obstacles and everything like that. And the naysayers, people that say that you can't do, people that say you shouldn't do, or that's a bad idea, or someone else is already doing. So that fear of failure feeds my drive and my creativity. So I think that fear is a good thing and a bad thing. I think, like I just said, fear can push you to do something, to challenge yourself. It can motivate you to think outside the box. Okay, if I'm afraid of this thing, how can I prevent it from overtaking me? How can I beat it? So that process can help you to think outside the box to overcome that fear. I think that scientists say that we all have the fight or flight inside of us. So when we're faced with something that's a challenge, that's an unknown, we either face it head on and fight it, or we run away from it. If it's a snake, I'm going to run away every time. That's a fear that I don't see ever being conquered because I'm not going to put myself in that situation. Sorry, but but like I say, fear is a good thing. Too much fear, bad thing. Fear of dying, I don't see how that could be a good thing. You want to live life. So that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts. What are the things that you guys are afraid of? Are any of these things on this list things that you're afraid of? Here's a challenge for you. It's one of the longest words in the dictionary, and it's an extremely long word in itself. And ironically, the word being long is actually part of the fear itself. So what is that? So it begins with an H. I'll give you a clue. It begins with an H, but it can also begin with an S. So there's two words that mean the same fear. So what is that? That's your challenge. All right. Stay tuned for another video and face your fears. Don't let them conquer you unless they're snakes. Then still don't let it conquer you. Run. Run. All right. So I will see you guys next time. Remember, whatever you do, do it justice.